So it's one of the great ironies of this moment in which we're so connected and interdependent on various technologies and devices that we think very little about where those devices are actually made, what materials they're sourced from, and we think maybe even less about where they wind up. And yet it's imperative to successfully navigate this increasingly convoluted digital age that we begin to understand the answer to those questions.
Until now, finding the best video game system was a game you couldn't win. Who played the most games? Who played the best games in television?
When I first got introduced to electronics, I was playing with an Intellivision, I was playing on a Commodore 64, and there was a very limited selection of what was available to kids at the time. But now, you could not possibly name all of the options that are available just within one device.
The first electronic I ever opened to repair was, I had a Performa 476. I was probably 12 years old. It was an early Mac. And it just kept getting slower and slower, and so I was able to open it up and upgrade the RAM. And actually the video RAM was also upgradable in that computer.
The pace of technology change is rapid, and sometimes things can get charming very quickly. Most of us here have a weird gene that we're either treasure hunters or vintage enthusiasts, and so we do find it fun to show younger people the evolution of electronics, which is just happening so quickly in front of our eyes.
The waste stream is ever changing. You've got all of these different streams of waste that show up at a recycler's doorstep, and they have to figure out, how am I going to repurpose this? Or how am I going to extract the materials from this device to be reused in new devices?
In the recycling world, these are the most entrepreneurial people you'll ever see.
We were introduced to a client back in 2013 that really showed us what is going on in the electronics recycling world. It was a crazy environment. I'd never been in a warehouse quite like it, in that they were bringing in stuff that they'd never seen before, electronic items. They had scuba equipment. They were bringing in things that just didn't make any sense to be repaired.
Every single person has multiple devices, and every single person has the need to recycle those devices. Technology is changing constantly.
All the different distributed devices that people have. I mean, our whole world revolves around technology and who's got the latest and greatest. And I don't think it's gonna get easier. I think if anything, things are gonna get tougher.
This is a problem, and everybody has electronics. Everybody can contribute to the solution.
Have you ever tried to fix your phone? It can be downright intimidating.
I think that I would never think that I could use or do anything with my phone to fix it. I think I'm very intimidated by what goes on inside, and I didn't know that I could replace the battery on my iPhone.
I did not know that you could do that. I think I'd be too scared to do that.
There is a baked-in incentive for device manufacturers to make these devices as difficult to repair as possible. As soon as the battery slows down, they want your first instinct to be, okay, well, where can I buy a new one?
So if you think about the electronics recycling industry for a moment, you know, when you and I see the new smartphone on the market and we go, wow, look at the new innovation, they go, wow, look at what I got to figure out how to fix.
But it's consumerism that has driven us to that plastic model. You know, we want stuff that's lighter, we want stuff that's cheaper, we want stuff that's smaller.
You would expect nowadays that many of these items would be manufactured for recycling, but again, that's kind of an afterthought. Right now, it's about what the consumer wants, and that doesn't always jive with design for recycling.
So we are in our Hobby International's cell phone processing facility in Dallas. So one of the most challenging things in this industry is adapting to the rapid change in technology. And I don't say this out loud, but I often walk away and think, okay, all you're worried about is designing the next phone, one phone. I got to worry about the next 60 or 70 or 80 phones that are going to come out. I would argue that our technical challenge is greater than some of the design challenges that the designers have.
Everything that you can think of is stored on people's phones, and nobody wants that to just end up in somebody's hands that they don't know.
The biggest part that's going to happen is the convergence of the cars and electronics and home appliances.
There exists a very legitimate fear among consumers that if they go to recycle their phone, that their data will be recoverable.
Now when you take the idea of the telephone and your refrigerator and your car all talking with each other, there's a lot, even more data in there. I know a lot of information about you. I know how fast you drive. I'm wondering why. Maybe you're traveling. The electronics business has morphed into being that we would shred telephones to now what they're doing is they're taking data off of phones, they're protecting data, wiping data, all types of things like that. And that's a new business model for them.
Are we like prying or like pulling or both?
Gently pry the rear case down away from the display assembly while continuing to pull up the suction cup.
Peel back.
Use your finger or blunt
Use your
tweezers
finger.
and be extra careful when working near the battery. Puncturing a lithium-ion battery can release dangerous chemicals and cause a fire.
Recycling in America today is under an existential threat, where we are putting combustible, flammable products into the waste stream just by virtue of all of the gadgets that we're buying. You think about the last gadget that you bought, it probably has a battery in it. What's going to happen at the end of life? If you throw it in the blue bin and it goes to a recycler, it's very possible it will cause a fire.
They are the new wireless earbuds. They will be coming with a wireless charging case.
I think AirPods are a fantastic product. It's just really exciting to see sustainability embodied in a device like this. Just really, really proud of. Oh, you want what I actually think. AirPods are one of the most evil products ever created. So now we have Apple selling hundreds of millions of AirPods. Every single product has 3 different lithium batteries in it. There's a battery in each EarPod, and there's a battery in the charging case. Are there any electronics recyclers in the room that run shredders? Okay, back there. How would you feel about this thing running through your shredder? Yeah.
Industry has really been struggling with this problem. What can happen is if a lithium-ion battery is bent or punctured or damaged, we don't call them fires, we call them thermal events.
When I talk with electronics recyclers and I ask them, how often are you having fires? They want to know, like, are you talking like how often per day or per week?
Kyle Wiens and iFixit are as close to sort of modern day folk heroes. They are paving the way forward in showing consumers how they can fix their own gadgets, how they can take care of them, and how they can sort of combat sort of the mantra of, you know, planned obsolescence that has enveloped the consumer electronics world over the last few years.
It's easy to go through life and just be a passenger as, you know, the Earth is hurtling through space, and I think that it's incumbent on those of us that really understand how things work to step up and see if there's an opportunity to make a difference.
Every state, for the most part, has right to repair legislation that's under debate. We want to see that legislation passed so that our processors have the opportunity to repair things that come in to their warehouse.
Fundamentally, right to repair is about intellectual property, right? We need access to the service manuals that the manufacturers have.
Currently, they might receive something that they're not even allowed to repair. They may not have the proper tools. The manufacturer may not give that to them. So just allow them to do their job. That's really all we're asking.
So welcome to iFixit. We're kind of the hub of the repair community. We're figuring out how all the things in the world break and how to fix them. Figuring out how to get repair parts for all the gizmos in our life is challenging because the manufacturers don't make them available. Apple doesn't sell parts to you and me, so we have to scour the earth, find the best parts we can, and then we run them through a rigorous quality control process. We have a mental barrier around opening things. For some reason, all of our lives we have been trained, don't take that thing apart. And I think it starts when you're a kid and you want to take apart the toaster and your parents are like, no, don't take apart the toaster. And children have it baked into their head that You're not going to take all the things in the house apart. It's about giving them that permission. And we have to find a way to give ourselves permission to open up our things. I think our society was really good at fixing and maintaining all of the things in our life through about the mid-80s. VCRs were the first product where they were mechanically incredibly complex and intricate, and there were dozens of VCR models on the market. The manufacturers have put them out there and they pretty much decided it's a disposable product. It's too intricate, it's too complicated, people aren't going to be able to fix it. And so that was the first moment in Americans' lives where until then, everything had been repaired. Viva la repair revolution, absolutely. This is about taking back control of our hardware. Every single person who decides to fix something is pushing back against this sort of treadmill of planned obsolescence.
In this country, we just kind of had this Wild West attitude that any company can put anything they want on the market as long as it meets basic criteria.
Banana ice, let's put it this way. Why is this e-waste? Well, e-cigarettes, they have an infuser and they have a battery pack. And the battery pack is really the issue.
We are really putting things on the market that are incredibly complex and that our system was not designed to manage.
And they've done a really great job of making a product that everybody wants, but again, I wonder how they recycle, you know? Welcome to one of our 4 facilities. This is in Chatsworth, California, where we're processing 48 million pounds worth of electric vehicle batteries. When you say that electric vehicle batteries are going to degrade and eventually be considered waste, the issue that I have with that is that they're waste today. When one part of that battery pack goes bad, it needs to be recycled. We don't have the infrastructure in the United States to actually repair these battery packs. So we're literally hot swapping them out and then considering them as waste and deeming them to be needing to be recycled. But the issue is these are perfectly good batteries. So here at Big Battery, we're actually taking in the electric vehicle batteries, extracting the good cells, testing them, recertifying them, and then integrating them into new applications to serve new life cycles in solar power arrays, in solar trailers, in portable emergency backup power when there's a fire, when there's brownouts and blackouts. Recycling to people is, it's hard for them to understand the importance of recycling when we don't see it. We can't put a face with it. We can't show how it affects people because it's affecting the whole world. So it affects somebody else in a positive or negative way that you'll never meet, and then it affects you in a way that you'll never see.
It's a mountainous problem globally, electronic waste. We all are generating it at unforeseen amounts. Why are these people being poisoned just because they're poor? It's just not right. And they really don't know the environmental and occupational impacts and the occupational disease that they can get and will get from this type of work. This stuff is toxic waste. I see a great chance here for reform and a chance for everyone to get more cognizant of these issues because everyone deals with electronics. This is something we handle every day, all of us. We all have a responsibility to think about who gets victimized by trade. Think about design. Who gets victimized by poor design?
We don't have any idea how much effort goes into the products that we have. I think if we did have an idea of the consequences of the environmental impact, of the human impact, of how much time it is to manufacture things, we might care a little bit more. It is over 200 pounds of raw material to make the cell phone that is in your pocket.
The most cutting-edge consumer devices in the world are sourcing their minerals from mines that may as well have been, pulled right out of the 16th century.
What we want to do is make sure that we don't have to continue to extract more and more precious minerals from the earth to feed the supply chain of new product when there's a plethora available in the items that might be sitting in your drawer.
Right now we're designing stuff for the dump, but the dump is actually where people live. This place called Away where we throw things is a place. And we've been there, and it's important for people to go there, even if it's with our cameras taking them there, to see that a way is a place and people live there and they die there.
There are a lot of entrepreneurs in this space, in the recycling and processing industry, that are doing more than just coming up with innovative solutions for the environment and for the world. They're also impacting their local communities.
I would say this. I remember, like, America Online was just getting big when I got incarcerated in 1996, right? Computers, I think 1 gigabyte was like major back then. Wow, my story is a little unique. After doing a little time, did about 18 years in prison, I came out and I heard about this place that does electronic recycling.
When people have done their time and come out of prison, often there was not very many options to rebuild their lives or get that second chance. And we often talk about second chances, and we use that language too, but a lot of the folks that we end up working with and who become employees here and rise through our ranks never really had a first chance, given the circumstances that they grew up in. And we are about recovering value from people and recovering value from electronics. And at the same time, there's people in our society who've basically been discarded and written off, and we want to give them an opportunity to show what they're made of, what they can do, and it's been really inspiring for me to see some of the transformation stories that happen here every day.
Like, we're not so much as find a job for you versus work on yourself to better yourself so that you're ready when you come back out, and know that you're fully ready to go out and get a job, but the door is always open and the help is always there, and like, you feel it.
Peel back the first battery adhesive
Oh
tab.
yes, this is the part we were looking so forward to, right?
This is the part where I need a hair tie. I'm not gonna catch myself on fire.
Pull steadily, maintain constant tension on the strip until it slips out from between the battery and the rear case. If the strip breaks, carefully try to retrieve it with your tweezers. Come on, dude.
Oh my God.
Is it coming off?
Yeah, I just feel like...
What did you do? As far as it goes?
Fudge. Okay.
The thing that I don't think people realize about recycling is that recyclers have to deal with everything.
The recycling industry, specifically electronics recycling, is such a complicated one that it really requires an entrepreneurial spirit to be able to be willing to dive in, understand it, and do something about it. And what we've done is try to facilitate that process and make it just a little bit easier for those entrepreneurs.
An important aspect of what we do in recycling electronics is to have a way to triage the electronics as they hit the door.
Speed is everything. You'd be shocked if you came in how much material we have.
Mobile devices, because of the nature of their operating system, have to go to a different process than traditional computing process. And the only way to do that effectively is to have a resource planning system, an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning System.
What kind of system is going to be able to support that process and that range of items?
Recyclers have a very complex stream of waste, and we have a solution for that. It's called Revested.
The Vested Group works with a cloud business system that allows processors to receive items, repair items, and then sell them back into the secondary electronics market and make money. At the end of the day, we want them to be profitable so that they can do what's good for all of us. To make sure as you're repairing things, you're not just creating more problems and putting them back into the landfill or sending them to third world countries that don't have the necessary abilities to do anything with it.
We have a reuse, recycle, dispose hierarchy where we want to reuse as much as possible first, then recycle. And then the very last part of that is dispose.
Our knowledge is so limited as to what to do with these devices. Our relationship to them is such that when their battery life is over, so is our concern for them.
Here we go, here we go. It's starting to come now. It's so funny because it's just these two little long white strips. It's not even, you think it's like glue all the way around. But this adhesive is something else.
This is making me feel very competitive.
My God! Oh my God.
Do you mind?
Are you kidding me?
I think there has been a real mind shift, and we are starting to see a bit of a sea change where people realize this is not an inevitable outcome. This is a situation that we have been intentionally put into by product designers over the last couple decades.
I'm glad I'm doing this with you. This would be very intimidating by myself.
Okay.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, it's working.
We totally did it!
More than one person has said, there's a battery in my phone. And so when they stop working, we are liable to toss them in the trash, throw them in a desk drawer, and just opt in to the latest model.
In order to tackle the complex e-waste problem we find ourselves in, we need to have open conversations between manufacturers, consumers, and recyclers.
In our industry as a whole, you know, we all work together.
And that's a big push is education, right? The consumer, the general consumer, general public doesn't know what to do with this stuff.
And you know, you think about it today, my kids would never empty a milk jug or finish a soda and not go find a blue bin to throw it in, right?
I mean, some people literally in America don't know that you can't throw electronic waste into the garbage.
Such as it is, we can consider them as baubles, as magic rectangles that respond when we touch them. We are not required to think any more about them than that.
We have so much to recycle because people buy so much. You know, how many times have you upgraded your iPhone or your Android phone well before it needed to be?
Now there's people around in the world that don't quite need the newest gaming feature on that phone. It can be repaired and resold to another market and kept in use for another year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road. That's sustainability. That's a circular economy.
Just Google closest certified recycler to me. Stop on by and get that stuff recycled. It's not doing any good in your drawer. It's not doing any good in your closet, and it's definitely not going to do good in the landfill.
We're going to start to see things that we can't even imagine right now.
You know, it begins with awareness that we can take care of our devices.
Now I know it's not going to blow up.
I would do it again if there was no adhesive. Other than that, if you have like the screwdrivers and everything, which are probably easy to get, it was pretty straightforward.
Our consumption model is very much linear. Take things out of the earth, make it into shiny things, sell them, and then throw them back in a hole in the ground. That is a very entrenched linear model. We'd like to see a more closed loop solution. You can't get there without a lot of participation, and it can't be fully on the recyclers to do it, it can't be fully on the manufacturers, and it can't be fully on the consumers or the regulators, but everyone has to work together to come up with a practical solution.
It's that communication that's essential to closing the loop.
As we continue to ramp up each of these different arenas, it should all get closer to a sustainable whole.
We're all in this together. We really need the electronics recycling industry to protect our planet and our resources for future generations.